So the dating game, it can feel like a lot of work and frankly, sometimes a lot of luck. But my next guest says if a relationship is what you want, you can have it. She's listed out 4 things to do to find a spouse. It's a forward motion approach that caught our attention. Master Certified Life Coach Jody Moore joins me through the screen. Hi, Jody. Welcome back to Studio 5.
Hi, Brooke. Thank you so much.
Good to be chatting with you. Happy New Year. So these tips are for single adults trying to find a spouse, but I'm wondering, knowing a lot of moms and grandmas are watching this conversation too, could we gently and tactfully perhaps pass these tips along with children and grandchildren? Is there a sensitive way to approach that conversation?
I like to just say, oh, I saw the coolest post, or I heard the neatest story on KSL and just share it. You never know if they're going to receive it, but I don't think it hurts to try.
What precipitated this topic?
Well, I didn't get married myself till I was 30, which isn't actually old, but I thought it was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I, in hindsight, wish that someone would have given me this advice back when I was a little bit younger.
So this is you speaking to your younger self and any other
Yes.
single out there who does want to find love. And I think that's key, right? Someone who wants it.
Yes, definitely.
Well, there are 2 questions that come to mind, I think, when searching for a partner. And the first is, where do I look? And then what do I look for? You have 4 things you encourage others to do when looking for a spouse that will help them answer those questions. First, you want us to make a list of all of the things we want in a spouse. I feel like I did this when I was 13. Is this still a good idea?
Well, kind of yes and no. Here's what I mean. You make that list just like you and I did when we were 13.
Yes.
But then, this is the important part. You take a look at all the things on that list and you ask yourself, what kind of spouse does that person probably want to be married to? And then you check in with yourself. Is that the kind of person that I either am or want to become? And then you throw that list away because you're never going to find somebody that meets that list, but you simply work on becoming the best version of you. And hopefully that is the person that person wants to marry. If not, you need to go back and adjust that list.
Well, I'm thinking of just the basic law of attraction. What we put out is kind of what we bring in. And what I hear you saying is likely what we'll put on that list in the first place are aspirations for our own personal development and growth, right? It kind of matches up in the end.
Yeah, it does. But instead of thinking about, I got to find, the guy that is healthy and fit and goes to church and whatever, all the things that you want, you simply throw that away and don't worry about that. And you redirect to, am I being healthy? Am I nourishing myself spiritually? Am I doing all those things? That's really what matters. And then, like you said, Brooke, we're going to attract that in the end if we become that.
Everyone's different. This question could be answered a million different ways. But as I ask you to put on your life coach hat and maybe direct us from that vantage point, are there things that we should put on that list or that you would encourage clients or other women to include on that list?
I think that we tend to all go to the same maybe 5 or so initially, right? And I think that it's problematic when we judge ourselves. Like, I shouldn't want somebody that's good looking or has money or any of that. And I like to let people just let your brain go. Even if you don't put it on the list, it probably is still in there. So let your brain kind of go crazy a little bit with all the things on there. In the end, what you're going to have to do is decide, what are deal breakers for me? What are the things that really I don't want to live without this, but other things you're going to have to compromise on in the end. So and there's not specific things, but start with just letting your brain kind of express itself.
It's kind of a brain dump and then go from there. I want to ask this question sensitively because I think this would be such a hard thing to hear, but the idea of making a list kind of evokes this idea that, is there such a thing as too high standards? I mean, you say don't hold back, you say put it all out there and then refine from there or edit from there. But what are your thoughts on dating and high standards?
Well, I think that we should all have high standards, but we should begin with high standards for ourselves. And when you respect and love yourself, then it becomes much easier to respect and love other people. But respecting and loving yourself doesn't mean just appreciating all your strengths. It means also having compassion and understanding that you also have weaknesses and shortcomings. And so we do have to recognize that all people have strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
But I think that when people have too high of a standard, it's not usually an issue of them being too judgmental of others. It's that they haven't fulfilled their own selves yet. They don't have enough confidence to then be okay with other people's shortcomings.
Oh, that's interesting. I love how you said that. That's food for thought, for sure.
Yeah.
The next step in this 4-step formula, you want us to have the life we want right now.
Yeah. So going back again to my past self, I think I did more than necessary amount of wallowing and feeling sorry for myself and sort of like not pursuing ambitious goals because I thought, well, I'm supposed to be getting married and having children, and that's what I wanted my life to look like. And so I was sort of like waiting around, if you will. So if you think that once you are married, you're going to be happier, or you're going to travel more, or you're going to be able to even be more nurturing, then do those things right now. Choose to be happy, choose to travel, choose to find opportunities where you can nurture and serve. It doesn't have to be in a specific relationship. And it has to do mostly with emotions. Don't wait around for that circumstance to change in order to choose to find all the emotions you think you'll have once you're married.
Yeah, and ultimately this isn't our end game, but happiness is attractive, so that's going to help us out. And as you were talking, I was thinking, I remember after, I think it was my second baby, and I was going through that, working mom wrestle that every working mom knows all too well. And I mentioned to my husband that even the short couple of hours I was away from my 2 babies every morning was feeling kind of anguishing, and I just couldn't wait to get home to them. And I was tapping my toes and counting down the minutes. And he gave me great advice. He's like, be where you are and be happy about it. Like, if you're going to be at work for 2 hours every morning away from your babies, yeah, but okay, you're at work, so be happy. I mean, there's kind of that idea of you put out happiness and you choose happiness, right? We hear that all the time, but it's so true. And you're saying especially true in the dating scene.
That's really good advice your husband gave you. And the truth is, when we're seeking anything we want, is because of how we think it will make us feel. But the way we think we'll feel once we have it is also the way to get the thing we want. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's really a powerful dynamic how we work.
Well, and that leads right into your next point. Go make it happen. And I think this is one of the hardest parts about dating as well. And we're talking heart to heart here as someone else who almost got married, close to the age of 30 also. But people expect it to come when the time is right. You're sort of encouraging people, Jody, to make it the right time.
Yeah, this is definitely advice that I wish I would have been given. I do think that there are, higher forces at play in all of our lives, but I wish that I would have taken more initiative to go out and make it happen for myself if that's what I wanted. There are so many things that we can do, and anything that anybody, I should say most of the things that most people have in their lives that they value, they went out and made happen. Very rarely do things just land in our laps, unfortunately. So knowing that it's up to you to go out and make it happen.
Finally, you want us to make a specific action plan. In the final minute we have together, give us some examples. Give me some examples, if you would, about what that specific action plan might look like. What could be on that plan?
Go on 100 dates this year. Meet 200 new men or women this year. Ask people to introduce you to each other. If you set a behavioral-based goal like that, that's completely within your control, that might lead to you finding someone you want to marry, then you can celebrate going on 100 dates, meeting 200 people. And that is going to be both fun and awful, I would think.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. But I love encouraging single people who are looking for a spouse to do this. I see their eyes light up with like, that sounds kind of horrifying, but also I can see how that is the way that you find a spouse. So.
It's empowering at the same time, equal parts horrifying and empowering. And maybe I'll end by quoting my mom, who I appreciated so much during my own dating journey. It only takes one, right, Jody? If it's a math game, it only takes one.
Right.
Jody, thank you so much. Where can we find more from you?
JodyMoore.com.
JodyMoore.com. We appreciate your words, your wisdom, and your advice, Jody. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Brooke.